What's going on, people? It's your boy Black Swan, live from the Four Pillars event in South East London, in Beckham. I'm here with Miss Brown, backstage, front stage, all over the place, you know what I mean? Right now, I really just kind of say big respect for what you're doing, the infrastructure industry, trying to link the whole UK scene together, trying to get some, people connecting from all over the country, really representing like UK, putting it down, making, let's make some moves, networking, networking, whatever you want to call it. And look out for the event. It's going to be streaming live. A lot of people that are contributing to the scene right now, making moves, whether you're a producer, a journalist, a blogger.
Hey, lash your ass, Clark, neck. I read Taurus and books written by forbidden government. Killer quotes and one lines that cut throats like knives. Killer quotes and one lines that cut throats like knives.
Yeah. It takes one mind to start a revolution. All it's gotta do is start recruiting, saluting, plant a seed in every single human. One move can start off a movement, so start moving. Tell your brother to move too, and tell your sister to move too. I'm trying to make the music to move you, yeah, not Harlem Shake. I'm measuring the limits that your heart can take. I'm treasuring this moment every single day. Every day is a one away, one's original, one's an individual, one by itself so spiritual. One life,
them deal with. The rascal, them things that them deal with. The rascal, them things that them deal with. The rascal, them things that them deal with.
The same piff,
The rascal, them things that them deal with.
like the theatre. Cash in my pocket and credit on the visa. With my new ting getting Caspian pizza. Yoda.
Pop off the M6 and into something sticky. Birmingham City. I don't give a fuck on the tugs, them are with me.
Town's on my back, so I go harder. Give me 2 changes of clothes and a phone charger, a mic and a yank. Look what I do to them. The children are black football hooligans. Mate, my turn, might take any mic, any place. Call me sir, I'm great. Teach lessons, keep weapons. When it comes to beef, Regin, I'm serving up a sirloin steak. 34-inch waist, but if I'm wearing a 38, that means I'm wearing a 38. Represent Birmingham, not Birmingham. Call me a country bunkin', I'm a murder. They calling me the boss, no he ain't Ricky. See me on my blocks when you know I gets busy. I ain't gonna stop till I get a $250,000. Running from the cops, will I make it out the city?
They're calling me the boss, Joey's that Ricky. Catch me on the motorway, blowing on the sticky. Fiends want the peng, so they're phoning up Ricky. Squeak's got the cheese stinking at the whole city. Really? I remember when I never had no lunch money. Then I went out of town and got that crunch money. Little fraud money, focus, Ford money. Then the pussy old feds took it all from me.
Yo, this is gonna be the rhythm killer, big blood clot things we're in on the 24th of January 2015. Yeah, it's all about the Birmingham crew, my lady C Brown, going in with some things. We're representing this UK hip-hop vibes and I'm a soldier, you know me already. Big on blood clot every year. Big on blood clot every year. Big on blood clot every year.
All the crew inside, all the massive. I want you watch that, yeah, for real.
Taskmaster burst the bionic incident. Taskmaster burst the bionic incident. Whenever me ting down, me think I'm a head. I summon up the power of banana and
for real.
Long time we ain't had a dance. We come for nice up your area. We come for nice up your area. Circle out the mouse and not alone. Come for the rhythm till I just stop one. We come for nice up your area.
Nice up your area. Yo, I wreck my camp and leave my stamp. When all the rich white teach you like to dress like tramps.
my name is, or if I'm famous. You should be concerned if you're burning in Hades when fire blazes. Feel the fire, burn up your charts, burn up your playlist. Fire for them haters and fire for them fake.
Yeah, so one time, yeah, we take it to them one time. Yeah, dirty baseline one time. Watch this. Sit about it on road, on the corner, beat 2 Guinness and smoke marijuana. Real rascal, we don't shit for barber. I can't do it, yeah, me green banana wrong. Give me surgeon as we cross the border. Move too wicked and out to order. Call this one straight to the house of parliament. It's a split, we got 5 for all of them. The deal we find it's a broader part of them. Grab to you, understand the argument. There is the red stripe or the Heineken. Rubber don't fight to the reason, glide it in. Close to the doors and the pure designer team. East London, where I'm decided to the Bronx streets. You can be riding in. Flinging the rhythm, I make the fly. Can't take the time, I want set the fire. I bought the man, I go get my Bible. Smoke a weed, it don't think, but I don't try to focus.
Locked, stuck with 2 smoking barrels. Locked, stuck with 2 smoking barrels. I got my rhymes stuck and locked, ain't it a parrot?
Thank you all for coming here. My name is Mandisa and I'm your host for tonight. We're going to be talking about hip-hop, UK hip-hop, what's good about it, what's bad about it, and hopefully just peel back some layers on that. And also look at solutions. We don't want to just have a session where we're just venting and talking about what's good and bad, because I myself know how easy that is. But we wanted to kind of look at solutions. We've got a great panel to talk to you tonight, but I'm hoping that some of you in the audience, I know a lot of you are artists in your own right or work in the music industry in some degree, or you can just be appreciators of hip-hop music, but we'd like to hear from you tonight. So we have somebody, Sharif, on the side here. If you just put your hands up, and I'll try and get to as many of you as possible tonight. Before I introduce the panel, I'd like to just say, if we could just put our mobile phones on silence, so we don't disturb people when they're talking. And also, we're here till 11 o'clock, and we're not having any breaks, because we've got a lot to get through. So if you're kind of coming in and out the room, if you could just kind of do so as quietly as possible, that would be really great. Before we start, Miss C. Brown, the brains behind this event and the organiser, just want to say a few words.
Alright, I want to thank everyone for coming, first and foremost, and the reason that I put this on is because I just felt like something like this was needed, and I feel like, you know, there's so many people doing different things and we don't come together enough, so I wanted to do something that gave people a platform to speak out, and also so that we could move forward and find solutions and find a way of growing the industry within the UK, because I feel like, you know, it's ours and we kind of should be controlling it, and we don't seem to be at the moment. It feels to me like it's kind of dictated to us, and we're looking for other people and other avenues to kind of break us, and really and truly we shouldn't need to do that. So that's why I did it, and yeah, so thanks to everyone for coming and showing support, you know, it's really appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, could I ask my panel to take their seats on the table, please? Okay, I'm going to just kind of introduce them all by name, but they're going to kind of spend a couple of seconds just talking about who they are, what they do. So I'll start here on my right with Rox.
Hi, my name's Rox. Used to be in a group called Sound of Noise at Gunshot. I now run an event called the 4 Pillars. So yeah, what's up?
Teddy Ted.
Alright, Big Ted, Teddy Ted, hip-hop DJ for a good few years. Did a show on Kiss down in London for about 10 years. On the road with artists like Black Twang and Ty, and collaborate with those dudes, and just the general hip-hop dude for about 30 plus years now.
Okay, we have Birmingham's very own Malik.
Yeah, this is Malik MD7 from a group called Maurice Delta 7. Done a lot of work solo in the UK and with the group and with various different artists since like the year 2000, and was part of an album called The Power and the Glory that made a bit of a landmark in the UK.
Okay, next to you we have the female energy on the panel. She's going to have to hold it down for the women on her own. We have SIC'NIS.
Hi everybody, I'm SIC'NIS. I did introduce myself earlier. That's an acronym which stands for Succeeding Impossible Circumstances Needs Intellectual Strength. I love hip hop. I've been doing music since I came out the womb. I've got a show on Wu-Tang Radio where we support and promote and source up-and-coming artists from the UK and Europe and worldwide.
And finally we have Smooth Fuego.
Yeah, I'm Smooth Fuego, DJ, interviewer, radio host. I've had shows on New Star Radio in Birmingham, also Birmingham mixed DJ for Radio 1 Extra as well.
Okay, good. That's your panel tonight. Now the first question I'm going to ask you, a round of applause. If we're going to be talking about UK hip hop all night, I thought it was right that we only start with the question of defining what UK hip hop is, because I know that there's a bit of a debate around it. Traditionally, hip hop is not just your MC and your rappers, it's kind of your breakers, your graffiti artists, your DJs, etc. And obviously, also in UK hip hop, we have had many spin-offs such as grime. But I've noticed when I've looked around and on a lot of debate lines, etc., a lot of people are debating what actually is UK hip hop. They say that grime's not, they say that kind of graffiti isn't part of UK hip hop anymore. So I'd like to first go to the panel and then go to the audience. Rox, what is UK hip hop?
To me, UK, I mean, I've been into it since what, 82. So I think it encompasses everything. So you talk, as you said, the whole b-boy scene, graffiti, MCing, DJing, and also beatboxing. What I've noticed over the years is that everything's sort of become autonomous and everyone's doing their own thing. Like graffiti artists now are only known by skateboarders, and that's the way I see it. So what I try and do with my event, the 4 Pillars, I try to bring everything back into under one roof for the night. But yeah, I just think that UK hip hop should be the way it used to be back in the days. You'd go to a jam, you'd have everyone there, breakers, DJs, MC, graffiti artists, the whole lot. And that's what it is to me anyway, that's what I think.
Okay, Ted, what are your views?
Well, the phrase, I'm gonna be honest, the phrase UK hip hop has always frustrated me because I wasn't raised on UK hip hop, I was raised on hip hop. So the standards that apply to me are just standards that are universal in hip hop. If you're dope as an MC, as a DJ, as a graffiti artist, as whatever, then you have the honor of being down and being known. This kind of UK hip hop tag that I kind of feel has been forced on it, it kind of gives an opportunity to people to, well, set it apart and say, well, you know, UK hip hop, it's not quite proper hip hop, it's a UK version. Like, I don't remember Linford Christie doing UK athletics. Like, he didn't run a UK 100 meters, he was just fast. You understand that? Those are the things that I look at. Either you're dope or you're whack. And it's a universal thing. So for me, in terms of calling it UK hip hop, I personally understand it and it's a label that's there and I have to accept it, but I don't accept it. So let me start with that. And then, in terms of the way I see hip hop in this country, it's going strong. There are graffiti artists doing what they're doing, there are b-boys that are singing, there are MCs. But in terms of it being how it was, when people knew people all over the country, knew who was hot and who was doing what, that's perhaps not the same anymore. And it's kind of, everybody's got an opportunity to promote themselves and do what they're doing, and they can be popular all over the world, but not be known in the UK because they've got like 100,000 views on whatever channel they're using. So that kind of frustrates me a bit in terms of it not being the kind of big ball that it used to be, and I would know who was happening in Leeds or wherever, because you kind of heard the word about who was doing what because the network was tight years ago. Now that everyone has an avenue to do what they're doing, it's a lot more fragmented. But what's the UK hip hop? Hip hop is hip hop to me, you know, and I've loved it for 30 plus years and I still love it. And whatever I can do, whatever contribution I can make and continue to make is what I will do to make things the way I want to see them. That's my opening statement. Really.
Okay, back to your views, Millie.
What is UK hip hop? For me, talking about UK hip hop, it's cool to do it for talking about the industry because we are in the UK and it's hip hop music, that's cool. But for the music, it's just straight hip hop. We live in a country there that likes to if you put an extra hi-hat on something, they'll be like, that's speed hip hop. This is deep hip hop. You know what I'm saying? People who know about music in this country, everybody likes to put a spin on something and then to change it from this to that to that. It's hip hop and that's it, you know what I'm saying? But industry wise, it's UK hip hop when we're talking about what's going on in this country.
Okay, SIC'NIS.
Okay, I kind of agree with the points that have been made already. I feel like it's not UK hip-hop, it's just hip-hop. It's kind of like the urban tag, which I don't quite agree with, because I think that the urban tag takes away from the fact that this was black started or black genre music. It's urban, it's so, you know, it takes away ownership. We don't make UK hip-hop. We make hip-hop, we support hip-hop, we love hip-hop. So that's what it is. But when you're talking about getting the hip-hop scene fragmented into the industry, then okay, then it's okay to give it the tag. Yes, I'm for the UK, I make hip-hop. I think that the movement is very strong. I think there is a wealth of talent in Birmingham, in the UK, in Europe, and I'm happy that we've got this platform to kind of discuss how we can make this movement bigger.
Okay, Smooth, your thoughts?
But literally everything I was going to say has been already been said, but I agree with the same thing. Like I don't look at it as UK hip hop. I look at it as hip hop in general, because like Big Ted Malik said, to me, putting the UK in front of it kind of gives a kind of scapegoat, and it's like you listen to a song, it's average, and they go, nah, this is sick, and it's like, nah, it's just average, but they go, nah, but it's good for UK music. And it's like, that's what it allows, which I don't like, because UK, I wouldn't say UK hip hop, it's hip hop full stop, but at the end of the day, it should be put up there against the best of the best, because we've got the talent in it.
Okay, anybody in the audience got any views on this? What is UK hip hop?
I'm the orator, I'm a poet and an MC. For me, the important thing is differentiating between the music and the business. Now, UK music, hip-hop music, is going very, very strong. Like you said, there's a lot of people doing their thing. And because of these independent avenues where people can promote themselves, we've got a lot more people having access to the equipment and possibilities to perform and get themselves out there. The business of hip-hop within the UK, for me personally, isn't so strong, because that's why we're here today to discuss that infrastructure. And I think personally, we have an over-centralization of the efforts in London, and people are too focused on London being the epicenter. Whereas I feel that we need that infrastructure up here in the Midlands and up north, so that we can build and continue to develop our own brands and our own kind of infrastructure.
Hi, I'm Rowan from I Am Hip Hop Magazine. I think also, apart from the four pillars that you said, there's a fifth one, which is knowledge. So like, you need to like educate people to know what hip hop actually is, what it stands for, rather than just what we hear on the radio and whatever.
So by show of hands, who here feels that hip hop, like rappers, MCs, are the voice of hip hop now, and the other elements like graffiti and the breakdancing is separate from hip hop? Who here thinks that hip-hop is just MCs and rappers now? I mean, how many of you see people kind of taking that cardboard and doing breakdancing? Does anybody? No, they just want to know. Tell me, educate me.
Because the rappers and the MCs are seen as an industry now, and people have seen it on the TV and the radio. MCs make money, whereas graffiti artists probably don't really make that much money. So that's the separation that people see, and that's why they say, well, hip-hop is just music.
But is that because graffiti artists are not seeing the growth in the thing? I mean, before hip-hop became viable, you know, your parents would tell you, you can't do music, you need to go to college, you need to go to university, you need to get a degree. And it wasn't until people started becoming successful that people thought, oh, okay then, maybe we can do this and be successful. And maybe that ethos needs to spread out into graffiti artists, into b-boy dancers, because diversity, they b-boy dance, and now look at diversity. So I think it's just the way people look at things, and they need to just be open to the bigger picture.
Well, maybe it's the responsibility of the rappers and the music makers to include the other elements into what they're doing. So
That's
people see it as a whole thing.
Very good point.
Again, we have to look at kind of the business side of things. Rappers that make music a lot more marketable than someone that sprays paint on the wall. Now we understand that they are all viable elements within hip hop, including knowledge, right? And these all things make up the core of hip hop. But when it comes to business, which one can make money? When the system gets hold of something and the system realizes, well, you know what? This thing is working. How can we make money from it, yeah? Hip hop and using the MC as a representative of hip hop is the easiest way for them to do that. Because they can't market people spraying on walls illegally. Like, they can't market that, they can't sell that. And if you look at it, the business is business, period. Before it's hip hop, before it's art, people are in the music business that don't care about the music. They're there for the business, and the rapper is the easiest way for them to kind of print the system.
I agree, but at the same time, that whole business side sometimes can destroy what we're trying to build. And that's what's happening right now. A lot of, in record companies, the way I see it is they're all like lawyers, they're just money makers. So what they're doing, they sit in the boardroom and they're just like, how can we make money? And they just exploit artists, and it's been happening from day. And back to the graffiti artists, well, I think in fact all of those elements that we've been speaking about, the b-boying, the dancing, not the dancing, the graffiti side of it, the DJ, you can kind of sell it. I mean, DJ, sorry? Goldie, there you go. Birmingham boy. My man he's doing graffiti first of all. Then he started DJing, he's done his own thing. So EastEnders, James Bond. James Bond. So there are ways of people making money. I'm promoting my own brand, but you've got artists like Mode 2, who does the 4 pillar stuff. That guy, he's an artist. He's not just a graffiti artist. This guy is an artist, and you need to market yourself as well. So don't pigeonhole yourself and say, I'm just going to spray paint walls. There's avenues out, there's ways of just making money out of the streets.
So Ross, you're saying that the responsibility isn't on the MCs and the rappers to include them, it's on the graffiti art, is it?
It is. They can be the voice, but also a lot of these other people, like the dancers, the graffiti artists, they've got voices too, and they know what they're doing. There's a b-boy scene out there that's huge, absolutely huge.
Do you think that in the UK we have like hip-hop purists, people who want to kind of keep hip-hop where they just got their knapsack on the back and they're in the clubs and they're dancing, sweating up themselves? Like, do people want to do? I feel like we have people who still want hip-hop to be how it was in the 80s.
No,
is it that we just don't like change?
Some people don't like change. Personally, I'm all for change. I'm sitting here watching C Brown do her thing up there, and I'm looking at some of these artists like, whoa. It was really inspiring to see a lot of those artists up there. I was like, we have got to see it. I didn't even know some of those artists are out there, and it's really good to see. So, more power to us. That's what I say.
I don't think hip hop could ever be accused of not being about change.
It's a movement.
Absolutely, and the amount of change that hip hop has made happen. I look at things like technology. I look at, something like a humble CD player. Why did anybody ever invent a machine that could make a CD player scratch? That was hip hop's push that made me make technology that could manipulate. Like, why house DJs they don't need it, But hip hop has pushed technology and fashion and so many other elements that around us that make billions of pounds and dollars around the world. And hip hop has had an influence on those technologies and those industries. And, sitting here, you might think, yeah, but how can UK hip hop be a part of that? But it absolutely is. You just need to kind of identify, and kind of work it back to see, okay, this is where, and this is how, and, get yourself in a position to be able to affect things. And, it's there. It's visible. It's right in front of you. Hip hop makes changes. You're talking about the people that want to be sweaty with a knapsack.
No disrespect, man.
No disrespect. I probably was one of those dudes back in '92. I wanted to be, Black Moon, and and Das Effects, and couldn't grow dreads long enough. But all of that, but it does move on, and things are where they are now. And there is still a scene that appreciates the boom bap hip hop. That will never die because that's the foundation of,
the golden era.
Absolutely. Yes. And the golden era, for me personally, the golden era has never died because there are, like Mos Def was not a golden era dude, but he made golden era music, and there are artists that continue to make material, but for whatever reason they're not a part of what the mainstream deems as what the public wants. So it's still there and it still exists. I don't like to always hark back to the golden era as though that was the greatest, because then you know, things that have happened since then kind of, it's not good for hip hop.
I think the golden era definitely inspired the artists of today. Because if you look at Kendrick, even Kendrick Lamar and some of the artists that are out today, you can definitely see where they were inspired by the greats. And that's what hip hop is. It's about movement. It's about forward movement. It's about empowering all to believe that you can actually achieve something that you want to do. And it's just about taking that and running with it. That's my opinion.
We was talking about like the elements of hip hop and about them being together. It's more like, alright, hip hop's the parents, and it's got 5 kids, and they've all left the yard, and they all live in different parts, and that's what it is. It's like the b-boy, there's a whole b-boy world, you know what I'm saying? There's a whole graffiti world, that's just a whole world itself. It's just that the hip hop, the MC part is more shiny, and that's about it. And they're not together anymore because they're so big that if you watch some on TV about a graffiti artist, that's just about graffiti. They don't even have to show it MC or DJ or anything because it's so big on its own.
Sorry, did you want to say something?
Oh,
okay, carry on.
What I've noticed when I've been trying to approach artists with the 4 pillars, when I speak to them, I've spoken to graffiti artists, and it's really weird when they say, I'm not really into hip hop, and I'm like, I'm really hip-hop. You know, there's beatboxers out there, and I'm like, whoa, you're really good. Yeah, so tell me about hip hop. Well, I'm not really into hip hop, and I'm like, what are you doing? I don't get it. I don't get it. It's like almost like culture clones. They just jump in it. They see something they like, they're good at it, and then even DJs now, you get these guys that win DMC awards, and then they're like house DJs. They're not even proper scratch DJs. They're just in their bedroom, done a little something, and they won something. I'm like, how did you win? You don't even know what a hip hop record is. It's really, really strange. It's a strange world that we're living in right now.
But isn't that just the sign of the times? Things change. Sometimes people come up a lot more easier than others.
But I think, okay, I'm going to go back to what I always say. It's almost like you're sitting down and you're interviewing Sean Paul. And you say, Sean Paul, tell me one of your major influences in reggae music. What about Bob Marley and Peter Tosh? And then Sean Paul goes, who? That's what's happening in hip hop. You say, tell me about the old school, you tell me about who your influences are. They're just like, a lot of kids don't care. They're like, it's about me right now.
So that's a good point. Do new artists who are out now, who are making it big, do they owe old school artists anything? Because there's this thing about recognition that always keeps coming on. No, you don't recognise who kind of paved the path for you. I think of the whole, like, even though I know we're talking about UK, Little Kim and Nicki Minaj.
Yeah.
How many times do you have to pay homage or recognise somebody?
You don't have to. I would say you have to pay homage. I'd just say, just know the foundation, know what happened before you. That's all I say.
I think you do, in a way, because one thing I've noticed, when it comes to the scene over here, there's a generation gap. Is a big one. Like you've got your older ones who are doing that, as you mentioned before, your kind of 80s, 90s styles. Yeah. Now you've got the new, like, 15 plus kids doing hip hop. They're doing like the kind of race streamer kind of, like what I call ignorant hip hop, you know what I mean? Like the type of club banger ones. You ask any of them who their influences are, they won't mention one UK name. Probably will all be US names, and it's kind of like, there's been a big generation gap in between that, and I don't know what it is, or it kind of needs to be bridged, because even when you look in, I don't want to go there, but when you look over to America, you kind of see they do things like hip-hop banners, they do this and that. They give homage in that way, and giving homage introduces their fans to the older acts.
Well, we've got that in the UK. We've got the UK hip hop honours. It doesn't happen all the time, but there's been a couple of them, and it's really good. They acknowledge people from way back and what they've done. In fact, one of the organisers here, right? He's up there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but when they do that, do they do a bridge to the new school as well? The new young ones?
I'll let him answer. Someone get a mic there?
Yeah. And again, that's the other element, that knowledge element.
Frustration. Right. What's up, everyone? I'm Nico Day. I used to be part of a group called Cash Crew back in the day. I had a production company as well, but now I'm doing Hip Hop Honours UK, and it's really about intergeneration. We started out in the old school because I think that we need to reinvent our heroes over here. When I grew up doing hip hop, I had heroes like X-Clan, Public Enemy, those kind of like real heroes, if you ask me. And I think that's what's needed over here. We need to reinvent our heroes. So we want to pick up the old school and at the same time teach the youth what their history is over here. Touching on what you were saying on the left, to do with the gap and what happened. I blame that on the influx of drug-fueled music, like when it went from jungle to garage to UKG. That whole era there, it was a dark time for your real UK hip-hop MC. Yeah, going through the 90s, from the mid-90s onwards. And I think that's the gap where it was just lost for the new generation now. Although they are our children, they don't really know who their fathers was listening to, their fathers and their mothers was listening to. And I think that's a lot to do with what the problem is. I'm not one of those guys that want to go completely back to the boom bap era, but I think that music in itself, it goes around in cycles. And we've had a long negative time, and I think it's time that it has to come back around again, and I think that's what's happening. So Hip Hop Honours UK, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to honour the old school, and now we're doing new categories where we're recognising the new school as well, but it will be under a standard that everyone can appreciate, so we can raise the bar, and so that perhaps some of those rappers will put 1 or 2 tracks on their album to try and sort of, you know, we want our awards, Hip Hop Honours UK, to be something like what the Source 5 mics used to be, like something sought after. Yeah?
Peace, peace. I just want to say enough respect to people coming out here and representing hip-hop. I think one thing is that we got to realize is that hip-hop, when hip-hop first structured and it first came into place, it was a movement. So a lot of the times, people who was actually building it, they were doing it under the guise of not even thinking about industry. It didn't even start from the industry, it started in the street. You know what I mean? That's why you had the whole putting the cardboard mans had the liners, had the radio, the boombox radio, and a lot of the things is you see when the industry actually got into the hip hop, this is when things started to change. So I do understand that we're in the new days and era where, you know, we gotta eat food. You know, everybody knows that if you don't eat, you're not going to have no bread, because we started to realize that, well, you know, you needed industry. So the industry came in and a lot of it commercialized what was hip-hop today. So that's where hip-hop has kind of a harder fight. So I think the point my brother was making, enough respect due, you know, you got to look at it, because we've got a lot of great talent that is in the UK. But I don't think, if we don't use a cornerstone, because, you know, when you talk about hip-hop, you got to study about African Bambaataa in them days. You know, they've got an actual map out of what hip-hop is. There's a Bible on hip-hop, you know, and it is true to life. You know, when you go through the cornerstone and you study certain things, you know, you see certain elements of, like you say, UK now has a big uprising in the hip-hop, but at the same time, there's many loopholes, because the industry still has the grasp of saying, well, you know what, we're gonna control it. So then all the little artists that are trying to come up and trying to make something for themselves, it's very difficult for them to do that, because the industry saturated it with what they'd say is commercial music. You know, so I think this is a good cause, and, you know, respect due to C, because I've been watching her do this, and I think what we need to do, we all need to come together collectively and start putting money in our own purse. Meaning, say, this is how we build the industry, is by starting these platforms to where we put the money in and start growing as artists. A lot of these people I probably don't know in the room. I probably know half of the people, but there's a lot of other great artists here that I probably don't know. And, you know, it's just about us sharing each other's knowledge and saying, well, you know what? I know you, you know me, let's put it together. That's how they're built in the United States, you know? So I think with the UK, and I'm just talking on a beholder, say, well, you know what? This is something that young lady's put together. It should grow. It's a root. Let's start to build it and see where you get from it.
Well, in the second part, we're going to be talking about solutions, and you kind of named some, but let me just go to the solutions.
What's going on? My name is Twisted Twenties. I'm a hip hop artist from Leicester. I've been a hip hop youth from the year I was born in '93. Same time 36 Chambers came out, so I just took it from there. You know what I'm saying? So obviously, as a baby, it was just being played around me, and it was just cemented into my soul. So it was one of them ones. But like my man was saying, when you said you got man, you can come and win a DJ award just by tapping 2 buttons in the bedroom, and then you can ask them who's called you rap and they don't know. But you know what it's like now, I can tell you with my generation, I'm 21, it's like with these fuckboys, there's like a certain bragging right to being able to do this shit without knowing anything about the back. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I participate in Don't Flop battle rapping, and some of these guys in here, they'll come to the clash, and they'll cuss man for liking hip hop in a rap battle. It's like, what? You do this thing and you like hip hop, you're a batty man, you should like house, you know, like, come, like, you cannot make me feel like I'm some idiot you for being committed to this thing, you know what I'm saying? So like, it's like, we're in the UK, I know that everywhere, I know man from near Liverpool, like little towns in Liverpool, hard at barring, you know what I'm saying, hard, and like, everywhere has got somebody holding it down, you know what I'm saying? Even when I heard Malik on Charlie Sloth's thing on the tune with Maestro, and then it's like, man, this is Birmingham and London, 2 biggest cities in the UK, and this is a hard tune, you know what I'm saying? So, it's got the people them in the right places, there's no absence, it's just the attitude, generation, like, sometimes, I'll even be with my brethren in Leicester, and I am the guy who's just like, if you give me the auxiliary chord, you're hearing MOP, you're not hearing fucking DJS XXX 5000 fucking SoundCloud remix, you're not hearing that, you know what I'm saying? So, I just try and put this, I'm not, like, people think I force it because I'm trying to make such a point, but this is so natural to me, it's like, it's the only thing I know, and I'm not trying to conform to this. Like, I like the new stuff. I think from 2005 to 2010, there was a week kind of like, there was an absence of, like, authenticity in it, but since 2010, I think it's picked back up, especially in the UK, you got factions like High Focus, labels, really coming out doing this, that's what I'm saying, guys. You got these white boys from these next ends in the countryside who are coming with these bangers because they've got an Akai and they've sampled some old thing and they're just coming with it real, like man like Leaf Dog, like them man have just got a beat from Premier, you know what I'm saying? And them man are from like Glastonbury or something, and they're smashing it, you know what I'm saying? So it's a country thing, that's what I'm saying, it's not a London thing, it's not a Birmingham thing, like that's what I'm saying, it's so different though, that's what I'm saying, with Birmingham in particular, it's a lot more road. You know what I'm saying? Like outside looking in perspective, it seems a lot more ghetto. You know what I'm saying? Because
can I pick up on the point that you said about guys being in the country with an Akai and they just sample, and I think that comes back to the point that we were making about paying homage. You know, there's nothing is original. I mean, there's that tune that Nas brought out, the Ether tune, which sampled, I think it was James Brown, Paid the Price to Be the Boss, Paid the Cost to Be the Boss or something like that. All of these tunes, they are based on, it's paying homage, there's nothing original, and this is what we're trying to say. You have to embrace the essence and the originality of where it comes from in order to progress. Like, you've got Lil Wayne bringing out tunes that his bars are word for word Aaliyah's. I think it was 1 in a million. But as you said, like the younger generation, as you said, they don't know that it's actually Aaliyah who came out with this how many years ago. They think it's Lil Wayne, so Lil Wayne gets all the props. So I think, just to cover that point again, homage is that you definitely have to do that.
I think education is the main thing, because when I watch interviews of American artists, the young ones, the Kendricks, the ASAP Drake or whatever, whenever they talk about old school hip hop, I'm thinking to myself, how come you know them bars? You was 2 years old when that came out.
Because their parents were playing it to them.
But they've gone back. Like, if we said we're gonna do rock music tomorrow, yeah? Are we gonna just go in the studio and just have a couple of rock albums? And we're gonna be like, yo, I need to hear what Rolling Stones was doing, you know what I'm saying? If you're really gonna do something, you're gonna do the knowledge behind it. I think that's one element missing from the UK, where I sit down with young people and I play them old stuff. I play them NWA first album, this and that, and their faces, because they're thinking there's so much that they're picking up, and there's so much that they can even take and bring to the future. So I think education is definitely the key to make our music stronger in the UK.
when people listen to soul music, do someone say to them, "Oh, a soul connoisseur say, well, you need to appreciate all the soul music that's happened," or any? Is it just hip hop? Is hip hop being picky though? Because do we have to do this in
I teach different kids in music here. When I was working with Stay Fresh, and there was kids when the kids into rock. When they go on the computer and they go on YouTube, they can play a song from the 70s, 80s, 90s. They'll be playing songs with people with mullets, people with some big moustaches from the 70s, like different artists, different times, and they're only 16, 17 years old. Hip hop man ain't doing that.
You know what? There's something that we don't kind of say now. I'm gonna say it. It's a thing where you can be cool and black, and then there comes a certain point when you're just not cool anymore. But that's not to say you're not cool, but people just deem you to be not cool anymore.
Why?
So, well, I think it's an age thing. So, you know, you can be, you know, I'm 45 this year. I've said it. It's the first time I've ever acknowledged it. Well, thank you very much. And, you know, to maybe a younger head, I might not be that cool anymore. But if I tell you, yo, son, back in 1994, I rapped with Nas. I've got to tell him something like that and show him on YouTube or play him a tape. But generally, he won't expect me to be that cool anymore. And it's a thing where we kind of reach that stage where, okay, yeah, you was cool and black then, but now you're just old and black. And it's about the youth. Like, you don't look good in tight jeans.
But you know
you
what?
don't look good. So they kind of generationally moves on. So what was cool and credible and still is kind of just, it's kind of shifted to the side because you can't be black and cool and old, and it has to be young, and it keeps cycling, and it keeps on forcing it to be that all the time, and I think that's part of the problem where the younger guys, they won't look back and think that those guys were anything. You know, they'll look back and see Jay-Z, oh, what, Jay-Z been rapping since 90, whoa, Jay-Z's older than me. But you will look at him and think he's cool because he's got money or whatever. But if he was just a regular Joe, you think, some old brother, he ain't eating about now.
But
that's kind of the attitude that we have.
When I was listening to hip hop, I'm not as old as you, but
You didn't need to say that. You didn't need to say that.